Hey, good morning, sunshine. It is good to be here. It is really good to be here. I know that I'm starting out with Good Morning Sunshine because I've already gotten the feedback from yesterday. 2 first sessions was a little bit of a Debbie Downer for some of you. So I've promised to bring some sunshine today, but what I don't promise is to deliver it with rose-colored glasses, okay? So there's a difference. So we're going to be on the mindset and approach. In case you missed it earlier, when I was introduced with Tommy, my name is Jane Sauls. I'm with Sauls Storage Group. We are a brokerage company. Our team is here. Luke Sauls is in the back. Veronica Lee, she's here. Mike Patterson has stepped out for today. He's been here this week with us as well. So we are licensed in 7 states, and what we do day in and day out is work with owners about making sure they're maximizing that value for when they are ready to sell. So today, valuations. What is your property really worth? And then we're going to go right into the succession strategy as well. We're going to talk about your current market value, actionable daily strategies, and succession and tax implications. Okay, so what is today really about? 3 things I want to tell you. I want to be real. That means I'm going to speak candidly in a language that you can understand. It's not about my degree or my designations or any of my experience or anything else. It's about, are you able to pick up what I'm going to put down? Okay, we're going to keep it real. It's going to be relatable. You're going to be able to understand how you can leave here today and go apply the things that I'm telling you. We're going to be reliable. I'm going to give you some third-party sources, some independent facts, and show you where you can go track that activity and stay up to date and understand what it means when you hear something going on in the news, what that means to your facility, okay? What is this not? It's not going to be a comprehensive list of everything y'all need to do, okay? It's not going to be that. It's sure not going to be tax advice. I walked away from public accounting Luke, how old are you? 27-ish? I walked away about 27 years ago from public accounting, not to look back again. Definitely not legal advice. That's what it's not going to be. So let's jump right in, because after yesterday, you ought to be sitting on the edge of your seats wanting to know what your property is worth, right? First, I do apologize. Sometimes when we do on the different monitors, right, your tabs and your screens and your fonts don't line up just right. So on my Surface laptop, I assure you, these numbers lined up. But at any rate, let's take a look. Green Street pushes out this report every month. It is the Commercial Property Price Index. And in March of 2022, okay, y'all, that is what is considered the peak of where we were at. I want you to look at a couple of things on this chart. Commercial real estate as a whole had gone up 15%. That's on that top line there. But y'all, look at that bottom line. What is that, self-storage? What? 69% increase. Now, if y'all remember, COVID actually was March 2020 when, the world about come to the end, all of that good stuff. But in 2019, we were in really good times. And in 2019, the conversation was, all the brokers was getting asked, goodness, what inning are we in? What inning are we in? Do some of y'all remember that? We were seeing great valuations, and that secondary and tertiary market was already gaining traction because of the limited primary product available, right? And then we had the wonderful thing happen with 69% increase in valuations. Okay, so where does that put us today? Well, You're like, oh, man, we dropped 14% as self-storage, and all properties down negative 16. Okay, so this is what you were hearing yesterday, right? We are down 14% from peak valuations. Okay, let me repeat that. We are down 14% from a 69% increase. Okay, so you can be like, is the glass half full? Is it half empty? But I'm gonna keep it real for y'all. Our cup does runneth over. I mean, y'all, that's good math. I don't care which way you look at it. You can also see that the index value is holding strong for us. Two other line items I want you to look at right here. Office. Gotta love you if you got some office going on right now, because that, not the best asset class to be in. Jane, this is storage. Why do you want to point that out? Why? Because our industry loves a good conversion, right? Check out that office number. What do you think? Just might in some markets, conversion numbers start working. Yeah. Now in the Atlanta market, I guess I've looked at least a dozen this past month. Y'all, those numbers don't work. Those office folks, I'm pretty sure as long as the owners have them and not the banks, the numbers still aren't going to work with the current rental rates in place. But I want you to stay tuned to your markets and the office product for that possible conversion. Okay, so 10-year treasury. Again, come on, Jane, this is self-storage. Why don't we talk about 10-year treasury? Because what else do you hear in self-storage and valuations? All I ever hear about and people want to ask about is cap rates. Cap rates, right? First off, let's all understand valuations and cap rates, that is such a small picture. That is so misleading to completely value something based off of a cap rate. A cap rate is a really quick snapshot. It's not the full movie, right? We want to be thinking internal rates of return and what that product is going to do. So don't be misled by thinking that the cap rate is the only part of the valuation. But it is a good talking piece and great conversation, and it's what we always start with, right? So cap rates is your net operating income divided by that cap rate will give us the market value. But Jane, you got 10-year treasury on there. Okay, so this trend, the cap rate, is known to follow the same trend as the 10-year treasury. The 10-year treasury is a really easy number for you to track, right? So I'm not saying that the cap rates are the same as the 10-year treasury. I'm telling you that the trend, when you graph it out, is going to be the same. So why is that important? Well, it's gone up about 1% from this year to last. And actually, I did these numbers 2-3 weeks ago. The 10-year treasury's over that now. I think it's like 4.6, I think, this week. 4.7? Thank you. Okay, so see, that's how quick it's changing. So what should you hear? What's your takeaway? The 10-year treasury is going up. Okay, so my cap rate is going up. So what does that mean? If you have a gross rent, $528,000, we're going to do 30% expenses. What Nix and Dan said yesterday, they use 35% overall. Whatever yours is, this is for illustration purposes. I want you to be able for this to register what I'm trying to make sure you understand from a value. So your NOI, $369,000. At a 6.5 cap rate, you're looking at a $5.6 million property. But what did we just say the 10-year treasury is doing? It's going up 1%, right? About it. So let's take our cap rate up 1%. So if you don't do anything to improve your net operating income, the market around you is changing and moving. It's going to have a negative impact on your valuation. We just go up to a 7.5 cap. Now your property is coming in at $4.9 million, okay? It's important for you to understand that that is what is happening if you're not active in improving the NOI. That's over $750,000 change in value. The other rate that you often hear about is the interest rates. I'm using the prime rate this morning. If you've got variable financing, you may have a prime +2 going on right now. At any rate, we are looking, whatever your interest rate is based upon, it's not going down. I can assure you of that. So if you're like, Jane, I'm not even considering selling. So I don't even know why I worry about what my property's worth, because I'm just going to continue, it's paying my bills, it's doing what I need it to. I'm like, are you refinancing anytime soon? Because as we know, in the downturn, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, wherever you were at in whatever market when it hit you, we know that banks' appetites changed, their decision making and desire to continue to finance projects or refinance projects changed, regardless of the performance, right? It was purely based off of the bank and what they so desired to have on their balance sheet. So, with that in mind, let's take $5 million as a purchase price. We finance 70% of that, interest rate 5.5 on a 20-year AM, that monthly payment, $24,000. Now, when you go back to refinance, and you can argue your loan to value, you can argue should that be a cap rate of a 6.5 or 7, you can argue that. What can you not argue? Your debt service coverage ratio, okay? That is what your bank lives by and underwrites to. So if you just take a net rentable square feet of 40,000 at $1.10, you got your gross potential there. Take out your expenses. I already given you the financing assumptions. You got annual debt of $288,000. Your debt service coverage ratio is 1.279. Cash flow after debt, $80,000. Not bad, right? So let's talk about that debt service coverage ratio and why that's important. The 1 means you're going to be able to pay your debt after you've paid all your other bills, okay? So that 1 is important. The numbers after the point is the difference, what you got left over for room for error. So 0.279, that's pretty good. A bank is going to smile upon that. They're going to like that. That's not a problem. But now let's refinance it, right? So maybe you got a 3-year balloon note, whatever your situation is. Again, just trying to make it register how important this is. The interest rate, now maybe you go to 8.5. What did that debt service coverage ratio do? Wow, we're at 1.114. And you don't even have 40 grand after you pay all your bills and service your debt. And guess what? The bank, they like a solid 1.2. So what happens now? I refer to it as you got to ante up. You got to put some cash in the pot, right? You're going to have to come off the hip, put some more money in to make your project, your existing facility, your proven performance product financeable at this point, okay? So huge, huge, huge deal here. So we've looked at the 10-year Treasury. We have talked about how that 10-year Treasury trend is the same as the cap rate. And then we're tracking interest rates, and unless you've been up under a rock, you know that those are going up. The slide is up here again because the other thing I want to be sure that you're able to do, and the takeaway, is that you're able to keep up with some of this on your own and have an understanding to how to make good decisions. So if you look down at the bottom of and I'll send these out, but it's behind the roll-up door. Matt Van Horn does an amazing job. He pushes out a newsletter once a week, and it has incredible content, and it is short and quick to read. He'll do links to articles. Some of it's technical, IT stuff, some of it's marketing, some of it's valuations. But at the bottom of that email, every week, if you do nothing else after subscribing to his newsletter, scroll down to the bottom, and he's going to tell you what all the interest rates, all the different ones, are this week and what they were last year. Okay? That's where that 10-year treasury. So you're going to get that information at your fingertips. And when you see it, you're going to be like, ooh, yeah, I need to do some of those actionable daily strategies because interest just got bumped one more time. Let's talk about that now, because we want to be sure that we're doing everything that we can do, right? We said we had 69% at peak valuations, 69% increase at peak valuations. Okay, y'all, the participation trophy days are gone, okay? I'm going to tell you that again because a lot of you yesterday was all sad and was your Debbie Downer. Well, no, this is when it gets good, right? Because the truth is, off that 69% increase in valuations, none of us did anything to truly make that happen. Don't get me wrong, I know y'all all showed up, y'all all worked hard, y'all all took risk, yada, 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 yada. What y'all were was in the right place at the right time, okay? So don't confuse market timing with being good at something, okay? So you need to know now is the opportunity to see who is good at it, right? We're supposed to be excited over the opportunity and the challenge and not discouraged by it, because we have a lot of people who've came into our industry that thinks that this was like easy, and that's okay, but they're probably going to learn a little bit different. So we're going to talk about actionable daily strategies. I'm going to get just a quick sip. Yesterday, Mike talked about, he had an acronym for it, and you're like, do you know what that is? Existing customer rental increases, right? Was y'all in here for that? So I talk to people all the time. I'm like, do y'all raise your rents? Do you raise your rents? Don't be confused about what I'm talking about. Let me clarify. I'm not talking about your street rates. I'm not talking about tweaking those. Stacy and her group will be up next. She'll talk about how those street rates, ooh, they're dropping. They're dropping. Not talking about street rates. I'm talking about the folks already in your facility, already storing with you, okay? I'm talking about those rates. So I'm going to do you an example to give you the understanding of what Mike was talking about yesterday and what it means to your facility today. So we're just going to assume a monthly rent roll of $50,000. I intentionally did a 5% increase. I'm not encouraging you to only do 5%. I'm wanting you to understand a little bit means a whole lot in what we're doing now, okay? Mike's exact words was, if you're going to tick them off for something good, right? He said, don't do less than 10 was his guidance. But I mean, what does he know? He's got a gazillion facilities, right? You know, so, okay, so now in the first scenario, we're going to do it one time a year. Now, likely, if you're on the schedule, your routine, your process is only happening once a year. That's the only time you look at that and consider changing that. I'm going to tell you that it's really not even happening once a year because it's happening when you get around to it, right? And then we're also going to talk about going through the process and doing this every single month. The process every single month, okay? So whether or not you are raising your rents on those existing customers on their 4-month anniversary or their 12-month anniversary, the routine, the process is happening every single month. So we're going to assume that we just non-seasonal here, we do a 12th of these customers every single month, 5% increase. It's only $208. $208 more a month in rental increases. Seriously, as an owner, is that worth your time? $208? And is that the best value of your time? $208. I'm going to say just hearing $208 probably doesn't sound like it, does it? You're not going to stop what you're doing for $208. Not many of us likely will. But look at what that does if you get $208 every month. A 12th of those customers get those rental increases every month. Look at that bottom number. Y'all, that's $13,000, nearly 14. That number get anybody's attention? Because here's what I'm going to tell you about that number. As an owner, if it doesn't get your attention, that's fine. I about guarantee you it'll get your manager's attention. Incentivize them. That 13 grand don't mean anything to you, give it to your managers. You know? And at worst case, just split it with them to incentivize them. But now let's put a cap rate on it. So I just use a conservative 7. Doing that $208 every single month, a 12th of your customers, a little bitty amount, 5%, just improved your valuation $200,000. Now that's important because what's your valuation based off of? Your NOI. We just brought up our NOI, $200,000, okay? Now, some of y'all, if you still don't think $200,000 is enough for you to do, when I get to the table as a broker, you may want to negotiate my commission. I'm going to tell you I just earned it, okay? So, another strategy, accurate accounting records, and we're going to look at some line items. You should be running your business today as if you're going to sell it tomorrow, period. It's not about what you know you ought to be doing, it's about doing what you know you ought to be doing. Accurate accounting records, this coming up as we start underwriting in the next 12 to 24 months, more important than ever. Because what happened during those crazy valuation times, right? We would just be like annualizing the trailing 3 months rent, you know, because it was growing so rapidly. You want your property to be the most financeable possible. And in doing that, it's going to bring a bigger buyer pool, right? Do we have buyers that will pay for your property if you are not putting anything in the bank or talking about any of that cash you're taking? Absolutely we do. Are they going to, since the buyer pool though is going to be smaller, are they going to pay as much if there's a larger buyer pool? Okay, so that's important. The line items we're going to talk about today. So during the good times, we just get all excited and happy, right, about the revenue and how much money we're making. And we sometimes get a little sloppy and we don't tend quite as well as we should to our expense items. So now we're going to talk about a few of them that we're going to have to look back close to. Insurance costs are going up. Like from a Georgia, South Carolina conference, I'm going to say, thankfully we're not in Florida because they're getting killed on that as well. But just in Mississippi, week before last, one owner was at $6 grand a year for his property, and it's now $9 grand. So it doesn't really matter where you're at. Insurance is getting hit. Two main reasons: the cost of construction has gone up, as in the cost to replace what you got has gone up, impacting your premium. And then if it's not a fire or a hurricane, lots of bad events hurting their numbers as well. So you're going to need to pay close attention to this number. You're going to be needing to get your agent to work hard for you. Property tax. Wow. I told you I was going to keep it real. Here's the deal on property tax. Self-storage, absolutely targeted. Targeted as an asset class. They'll even own up and admit that they're targeting us. And here's why. Y'all, somebody's got to pay for all this free stuff we've been giving away for the last 2 or 3 years. Do we not? Absolutely. So business owners have to bear that burden, which nobody seems to realize at the moment we're going to pass on to the consumer, right? Credit card fees. Goodness gracious, credit cards are having, you know, there's always so much fraud, right? I mean, I'm also an owner. Originally, 5 or 6 years ago, we would have maybe a card or two here and there. Somebody would say, oh yeah, I got a new card, my card was compromised. My goodness, what is that, like 5 times as many people today? When you do your auto pay, 5 times probably as many people have a compromised card and have to give you more information. So credit card companies are having a hard time with that. Also, credit card companies are smart. They know that we are totally dependent upon this. What Nick and Dan, they don't even take cash or checks. So they're totally dependent on taking that credit card. So of course, the more dependent we are, the more the demand for us to have it, right? So of course their price is going to go up. Side note on that, as an operator, if you've recently changed your processor, pay very close attention to the days that it's taken for your money to hit the bank, okay? Take note of that, and we can have another conversation about that. Payroll. We've been doing lots of things in the industry from an automation perspective, right, to make payroll much more feasible from that remote management side, virtual assistant side of things, whatever that may be. But y'all, whether you have anybody sitting all day at your site or not, people run our programs. People is running this process. It doesn't matter what management platform, there are people behind that. So just be mindful of that. Okay, another actionable strategy. Curb appeal is for the customer. Okay? The income stream is for the investor. Sometimes when we're working with owners and they get ready to sell, they're like, yeah, but let me get it painted and put straw out and get the grass cut. Yo, your investor don't care about that. The way this works, okay, is the curb appeal is for the customer. You make them feel good. Tommy was talking about his wife needed to feel at home there. Because why? Because Tommy's going to not complain about paying more when his wife feels good at that facility. That's the curb appeal. So we are at a place with the economy, with our world of where we're at, where we have to go back and focus on the absolute smallest of details and the littlest of things, then the big things will take care of themselves. I love that this process absolutely works through and through. You have to be intentional. As a mother of 3 sons, we played a lot. Because I feel like I played on the field too some days, I feel like. But we played a lot of baseball, right? I don't know, 120 plus games a season probably. And they had a coach, Coach Tim Criswell. He basically absolutely preached to those boys that were average athletes, okay? Average athletes, he convinced them if they would pay attention to the littlest of details, that they would win the big games, okay? I can talk about them being average. Luke loves this part because I call him out as that. He says I should also mention that even though we started doing that at 9, 10, 11 years old, that I should also let y'all know the part of that story that's important is that all of those players on those teams, they played on the high school state championship baseball team, and then they all went on to play some collegiate ball. And look, where's Cooper now? Tampa? So Cooper Criswell pitches for Tampa, okay? So what's important there is those guys understood how important the littlest details was. And what I'm going to tell you what that means today in business, as you see these interest rates go up, you need to pay attention to those little things. And the biggest thing is that you don't choke when you're at the plate, okay? Getting through the next year or two for your facility may just mean that. So the little things, we're not going to spend much time on this one. It's the primary curb appeal. Think about this as what your customer sees when they drive by. That's important, what your community sees when they drive by, okay? That gives you that overall feel. That's going to be a part of you being able to push those rates of those existing customers and keeping them happy. Including from your sign, your landscape, well-lit, pictures of the well-litness on your website. Secondary curb appeal, talking about what does your customer actually experience when they are on site. I'm not talking about interaction with a person. I'm talking about when they go to roll up their door, is the bottom part of it all funky with cobwebs, or is it clean, okay? I'm talking about the littlest of details here. Okay, so now that you've gotten the actionable daily strategies, you understand how important it is to do the little things, we're gonna roll right on into the succession. I'm just gonna go ahead and not listen anymore because I'm not a seller. Okay, well, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but none of us are getting out of here alive, okay? So you're not always going to own that property. You're not. I hate to be the one to tell you, however that works out, you better have a succession plan to where if you weren't there tomorrow, that your facility is an asset and not a liability to that of the ones that take it over. Okay, so this is really, this is an excuse. This is my now 2-month-old. At this point, he's a 1-month-old. My 2-month-old grandbaby. This is when you all go, oh. Yeah, thank you. Seriously, you have to run your business every day as if you're going to sell it tomorrow. So the heavy lifting is done early and often. As a part of that, and we're not going to cover all of these, but it's important how you set it up on day one and then what you do every day going forward, right? The other thing that's important about succession is your market timing. Because you've got to take in mind what you want to do, where you want to get to, and on what timeline you want to get there. And you got to run that parallel with what's going on in the market, right? And you got to line those two things up. So you don't want to sell too early, right? Leave money on the table. And then, of course, you don't want to sell too late. So you got to think those things through of where you're wanting to be, how much of that runway is left for you. So, who are the buyers in today's market? Well, we do know that transaction volume is very low right now. So I would say that the buyers still look the same overall. It's just a little bit harder to get the deal done. So I've referred to these first group because who wants in self-storage? Right, everybody from the left to the right. So the entrepreneur individuals, they're still sending out their letters, right? It's a cute little love letter. It usually has a picture of their wife and their kid on it. Y'all are getting those. I'm getting those. Are y'all not getting those as an owner? Yes, that's exactly right. Here's my favorite part. This group and the next one, my favorite line is, they're going to save you, these two groups are going to save you broker fees, okay, if you will not involve a broker and just let them quietly pay you for it. So here's what I'm going to say to that. The last time you went to buy a new car, you figured out what you wanted, right? And as you go pull up on the dealership, I'm thinking what went through your mind wasn't, I hope that they make the most money off of me today that they most possibly can. Any of y'all ever thought that when you go to buy a new car? I am here for them. I want this dealership to have the best returns this year, and I want to do my part in making that happen. No, you don't do that. Absolutely not. You're looking for the best deal that you can get. Folks, these people are looking for the best deal that they can get, okay? Now, this is not a Jane Sauls, I want to be your broker spiel. This is a heartfelt, please, please have somebody in your corner that understands our industry and that will represent you. Who's here today? Brokers. If you specialize in self-storage day in, day out, raise your hand. All right, everybody, look around at these people, okay? These people, take a good look. I want to be very clear, you need one of these people in your corner to represent you so that you don't get beat up trying to get across the finish line. The other group is the public companies, the big guys, we'll call them. Okay, so the big guys, they're probably not looking to just buy your one-off, but that middle group right there, they're buying, right? And they're putting together those packages, which then later get rolled up to the big guys. We've seen that happen a few times over the last couple of years already. So let's take a look at what does that mean, right? In 2019, okay, for the most part in this room is the rest of the industry. The top operators in the REITs and U-Haul, and we love our U-Haul guys. Yes. So they are over there at, I need my glasses on, Donna. So we've got 17% other top operators, public companies at 31%. The point here is the rest of the industry has 52% of the market share of net rentable square feet in 2019. In 2022, according to the Storage Almanac, the rest of the industry had 41%. That's right, it dropped significantly. What does this mean? This means you're either going to sell to them eventually, they're eventually going to own you, or you are going to have to compete against them to survive, which is why it's important that you stay for what were 2 sessions later, Max and Jim's presentation, to understand how you can compete against those big guys, because it's coming. And so you don't have any excuse to cry about it later when you find out that all of a sudden you wake up and the big guys are here and you've not been proactive in making sure you are ready for it. Probably also not going to get a lot of sympathy from me because this Sauls Storage Group, we're small business competing against the big boys and the national brokers as well. Exit options. Check my time to see how quick I need to get out of here. Just teasing. So what are those? Let's just do a basic sale, right? Just a simple sale to get out of Dodge. Maybe you're in it at 1.5, add another 500 in capital improvements. You've done some depreciation, of course. You sell it for $5 million. You've got a cost to sell adjusted basis. So your capital gain, you're looking at roughly 3.5. You've got to add back in some cost recovery there, which puts you at 2.7. So capital gains tax total liability there is a little over $700,000. So you're going to need to plan for that, right? If that's the case, you're going to need to plan for that. For one, if you just made $2.7 million off of your asset, I'm going to go with poor us for being in an industry that has such good valuations so consistently and is so strong. that we have to work hard to avoid significant tax liabilities. So let's keep in mind, we are in hands down the best asset class. And I'm not looking for you to have your happy face on and be excited about paying taxes, but y'all, this is a good problem to have. But how can we minimize those tax liabilities? Let's talk about that. Pass to family, right? I'm not selling this. I don't have any bases in it, so I can't afford to sell this. I'm going to pass it to my family, get a stepped up value of basis, and then that way I don't have to actually pay capital gains. We have a strategy worksheet that any of our group can get to you if you'll just let us know. That's going to get some really hard questions out there. Because if your plan is to pass it to your family, you need to talk through and think through some stuff. One, do they want it? Seriously, they may not appreciate it. Do they know what to do with it when they get it? And by all means, is there more than one that's going to be getting it? Because what's important? Now, we're talking about valuations today, but what's really important, the value, is that at the end of all these exercises, everybody's still having Sunday dinner, right? And if you're leaving your asset to your children and they're not going to get along, then you're creating a problem and not setting them up for success. So you need to work through that. We've got some great questions on that as well. I was told last week that they weren't worried about the siblings. It was the siblings' spouses that they were worried about. So there's always that too. Another good option is a 1031 exchange. So you can sell your property that you're involved in every day, hands-on, right? And you can reinvest that money, probably into another self-storage investment that you are not responsible for overseeing the operations. Now, some of you, as opposed to selling and doing a 1031, your exit may need to look a little different. So you just may want to be able to get away a little bit more, do things a little bit differently than have to be there every day. So you need to possibly consider bringing in third-party management. I know we got them amongst us. Raise your hand, my third-party people here. We got Jasmine, got over here. Yes, Megan, get it out there for a second. So yeah, we got third-party management groups. So instead of selling, maybe you just need to bring that third-party management in. They're not going to cost you, okay? They're not going to cost you if you're getting the right one. They're actually going to pay for themselves and give you a break, right? And then should be increasing your value in the midst of doing that. The other option is what we're seeing probably more of than ever is seller financing. Seller financing is a good fit these days, often both ways, right? Because deals are getting harder to pencil, if you will, because of the interest rates. And then you've got your seller who doesn't have to recognize the entire gain at the point of his exit. So between those two things, oftentimes that is a very workable solution. Again, we have the worksheet. If you'll let one of us know, we'll be glad to send it to you. That just gives you a lot of questions to just think through, whether you're passing it to family, whether you're refinancing, because you want to go ahead and start looking at those ratios as well now. I was talking with someone yesterday. They know that they have to refinance April or May-ish. I'm like, ooh, let's look at where you're at now so that we can actually get a plan and make sure your bank is going to be satisfied. Then you're going to start those conversations with your banker, tracking on what their appetite is, because you may need to start having conversations with more than one bank, as we heard yesterday, right? What was it? For 130 of them, throw it out there, 4 of them said yes? Yeah. So you're telling me there's a chance. Absolutely. We are genuinely here to help you. We've recognized, you see the other brokers in the room, we do this day in, day out. We would love to be a part of your process early on and not a part of when you're kind of in that panic or distressed mode. We are here to help you. How you can help me? Didn't know that one was coming, did you? Okay, so how can you help me? Well, I mean, since it's my birthday, if you think that anything that I have shared with you today has been beneficial, if there's anything about our group that you like, I would love your Google review. I would love your Google review for Sauls Storage Group, okay? That is absolutely, would be so appreciated. If there is something that you do not like, I would love for you to tell me and not the rest of the world, okay? Yes, yes, we do have big shoulders, so tell us, not the rest of the world, because then I'm gonna have to call Tommy and be like, how do I hide this? You know, so we are absolutely delighted to be here. We appreciate the Georgia and the South Carolina Board of Directors. Y'all have rocked this entire conference, so thank you.